There is nothing scarier than trying to play your new game on your favorite console only to be faced with a console glitch that prevents the game from running smoothly, or glitches within the game that you own just for that console that make your game look like a horror story come to digital life. Today we'll be taking a look at some of these frightening moments involving the PlayStation consoles, glitches revolving around either PlayStation titles or the consoles themselves that have prevented you from fully enjoying your game, or just giving you a visual fright. That's right, it's time to count down the top 10 scary PlayStation glitches. If you are a loyal PlayStation fan, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and be sure to stick around to the end of this list where I will have some bonus content coming your way in the form of comments. Alright, let's get counting. Number 10, Lost Companions, Fallout 4. Bethesda is known for two things: its giant open-world RPG games, and, as a result, its mass amount of game glitches. In the case of the game Fallout 4, available for PS4, there are many glitches a player can experience. A lot, of course, can also be caused by fan-made mods. A frequent one with or without mods that players have experienced is one where your in-game companions like Nick Valentine, Dogmeat, or Mayor of Goodneighbor John Hancock go missing. I have personally also experienced this glitch in-game without even being able to figure out how or why it happened. It can occur when you send companions out to man trade routes between your settlements, but can also happen at random and can go on indefinitely, or just be a blip in between fast travels or gaming sessions. Where do these companions go, I wonder, when they're lost in the wasteland? Number 9, Giant Chicken, Skyrim. For this glitch, we have to go back to PS3 and the early 2010s. Skyrim was originally released in 2011, and at the time, the operating system for this game just wasn't big enough to handle a game of this sheer size, leading to all kinds of wacky glitches. One of the most ridiculous and possibly frightening ones involving the spawning of flightless birds known as chickens. Due to a glitch when chickens spawned in the game, there was a potential for the scale of the bird to get kinda messed up, which could result in a giant-sized chicken coming after you. Chasing these chickens around would actually likely make you a legend in the game fable. Chicken chaser. If you have a fear of giant-sized animals, this one might freak you out. I personally like to think of the giant chickens that I spotted as flightless cousins of the dragons that were in the game. Then again, if giant-sized animals freak you out, I'm sure the dragons in that game would also freak you out. Then again, if you're afraid of giant-sized animals, the giant dragons you face in Skyrim as the Dragonborn would probably likely also freak you out. Number 8, Ghost Town, GTA 3. In Grand Theft Auto 3 for PS2, there is a three-dimensional ghost town that was only ever intended to be used during the beginning of the game's cutscenes. The ghost town was not really finished, and kind of like a weird in-game movie set, really, and as such you were never really meant to return there. But of course, that did not stop hardcore gamers from trying and succeeding to make it back to the off-limits ghost town. There were only a few ways to return there, some options being piloting the extremely unpilotable Dodo or using a flying car. The ghost town had some parts that were solid, some that were unsolid, and was filled with cars and some walls that you could walk through. In some places, it actually even had more detail as well when it came to the design, actually, in comparison to the Liberty City of the game. Which is kind of weird. Guess because it's used in cutscenes, so it had to be more detailed. Number 7, Raised Dead, Red Dead Redemption. This glitch isn't even unique to Red Dead, is also kind of a weird thing about it. A lot of the Call of Duty games have also had this issue. The thing is that characters in games are really just composed of code, whether they're alive or they're dead. Now, some of these lines of code that make up characters are programmed, of course, to lie still as corpses, while others are programmed to fight, walk around, run, or interact with you as NPCs or enemies. But sometimes the roles can get confused when there are glitches in the code, meaning that the dead might rise, twitching, talking, and even standing back up and moving around. In Red Dead Redemption, one of the ways this glitch manifested for players is by the dead turning their heads all the way around, like something out of The Exorcist. Nothing like watching heads just twist all the way while they're dead. You're like, what is going on? Please stop. Please stop that. Number 6, floating body parts. Fallout New Vegas. In Fallout New Vegas for PS3, Bethesda once again upheld their fans' expectations when it came to making super glitchy games. Of course, let's be fair, a lot of the glitches that you experience in Bethesda games are because the games that they make are just so massive. The games then run into problems, of course, of rendering locations, items, and NPCs, as well as spawning enemies. So due to this issue, you may see some freaky sights in New Vegas where characters will glitch out when rendering and just be reduced to weird floating chunks of flesh, which you'll still be able to speak and interact with. Ew. You might also notice bits of floating flesh surrounding your own character while you play. Double ew. Number 5, part human, part animal. Red Dead Redemption. This glitch has, of course, long since been patched, but it terrified many before it was fixed. It created weird hybrids of humans and animals in the game, where characters in town started to sound and behave like animals, flying around and even sometimes allowing the player to ride them as though they were horses or donkeys. The other freaky thing about this glitch is it would also change the character's body shapes and sometimes features to resemble some kind of animal-human hybrid. Animals also would sometimes glitch so that they acted like humans, arming themselves with guns, walking around on hind legs, and even sometimes talking to you. Number 4, games won't load. PS2. Some PlayStation fans took note of a pretty frustrating error that would occur with the PS2 console that would actually prevent you from playing your games. You may have experienced this one if you had or still somehow have a PS2. Also, if your newest console is still a PS2, I think it's time for an update. In this glitch, you could have inserted a perfectly clean and non-scratched, even completely fresh and new game disc that you had just bought into your console to play, and your PS2 just would not be able to read that disc, or any other game that you own for that matter. The suggested fix online was to clean out the disk drive, which sometimes has dust trapped in it, preventing it from clearly reading game discs. But of course, any glitch where your console will not play your games on it, I think, is terrifying and frustrating. Especially when you don't have something to clean out your game drive. You're like, great. Guess I'm gonna have to blow in it. Reminds me of those old school Nintendo console problems where you just had to blow in the cartridge of your games. I just aged myself there. Number 3, PT hack, PT demo. So this one, it isn't really a glitch, it's a hack. But it's such a good hack that I felt like I had to share it with you. And of course, what's revealed through this hack could end up being a glitch in reality, but knowing Kojima, what we learned from this hack was likely intentional. Everything feels very precise and intentional in his games. Lance McDonald is a YouTuber who is obsessed with the technical aspects of video games, and as such loves to hack games in order to discover more about what is really going on inside them, in the parts that normally remain unseen. In PT, this means exploring what is going on behind the player's back. Literally. Inspired by the fact that you can sometimes hear Lisa's ghost and her shadow in front of you, McDonald found a way to hack the camera so that he could either lock it in place while moving the player around, or so that he could actually have the camera move with the player's head in a sense, so you could see more of what's going on behind you. This camera hack revealed something really freaky, that apparently Lisa's ghost is pretty much following you directly behind you from the moment that you find the flashlight. So yeah, you think you can see her shadow and hear her? That's because you can. She's behind you. You just can't see it because you normally can't see her back in that game. Number 2, system crash scare. PS4. This was a rampant issue that was actually discussed on Reddit when it came to the PS4 console. Apparently, a message was going around that, due to a specific string of characters in the message, would cause your system to brick and crash if you opened and viewed the message. Performing a hard factory reset on the console would then be required in order to get it back in working order. The risk of catching this fearsome bug via private message encouraged PS4 players everywhere to change their message settings and restrict PMing to only between friends, or just eliminate PMing altogether for them. It's always good to be mindful in general though when it comes to receiving random messages from strangers online. Like, I personally do not want messages from random people anyways, unless I'm friends with them. Number 1, YLOD, or YLOD, PS3. Known as the flashing yellow light of death, or YLOD, or YLOD. A yellow flashing light would appear on your PS3 console as a warning sign that it was about to go into warp core overload mode. In other words, it was about to die. If you didn't notice in time, your console would just straight up bust. But if you did notice the flashing yellow light, it was possible to actually save your console by taking it into a service center, or even potentially repairing it yourself, if you're into that kind of thing. The yellow flashing light was basically letting you know that the console was having an internal problem. One of the more terrifying ones that it was indicating was that your console was overheating, which is pretty scary because it'll melt. For the PS3, this was basically their version of Xbox's Ring of Death. Thank you so much for watching. What do you think are some of the scariest glitches involving the PlayStation consoles and their games? Have you experienced any of the glitches that we mentioned on this list? What is your favorite exclusive PlayStation game? Let us know in the comments below. And speaking of comments, it's time to turn to some comments from one of our latest videos, Top 10 Alternate Versions of Freddy Fazbear. Mikey12 comments, I love Funtime Freddy, but I also find him horrifying, especially after reading that his personality is supposed to be based off of Pennywise the Clown. He's an animatronic Pennywise, and I fear that so much. Yeah, that is a pretty frightening revelation, I guess. And I agree, Pennywise is so creepy. I like that Funtime Freddy has that fun-looking allure, too, that draws you in close, just so he has a better chance of killing you, probably. Bramigo comments, I like Twisted Freddy the most. He's just a cool design. I can see that. He also just has so many teeth everywhere. Ooh, freaks me out. The teeth around, like, the gaping hole in his stomach. I'm not about that. Yikes. He's also kind of like a molten, withered, and nightmare version of Freddy all kind of rolled into one. And that's all the time we have for comments today. Be sure to comment below for a chance to have your thoughts and your feels shouted out in a future video. This has been Top 10 Gaming, and I'm your host Amanda McKnight, reminding you, as always, to keep on gaming on. Pew pew! Every game is better if you have a dog companion.